Hey up, episode 117 I think we are on now. Welcome, it's the Synth Network live show. Sorry for the slightly delayed start. Old men had to go and use facilities. Not just one of us either. You see, this is what happens. There's a lot to be said for a stoma. Anyway, welcome to the show, one and all. I hope you are well. I hope you're enjoying your week so far. It's the weekend coming up. Lots of good things happening. Lots of news to talk about for a change, because it's been quiet the last few weeks. So lots of things to kind of go through, maybe discussions to be had. And we're joined by somebody very special who I'll introduce you very soon. Before I do, let's just remind you to all to like, comment, subscribe and share. You know the score. You know what to do. If you want to help us stay on the air, you can donate to us in any number of ways. You can pay money into our PayPal account, which is always nice, or you can use super chats or super stickers. If you're watching this on catch up, there's a button below that says thanks. You can use that to donate to the show. Little, large, we don't care. Every penny helps keep us on air. That's almost rhyming. That was. We've also, of course, we are across all social media channels, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook or YouTube. They're all the same handle, at Synth Network. And of course, if you have any questions or comments during the show live itself, if you can prefix those with a big capital Q, it just helps the old men pick out the comments and put them into the right bucket so that we can go and refer to them at a later time. So, yes, it's a lovely kind of muggy summer's eve here in the UK, and I don't know what it's like in your part of the world, but I hope it's nice and I hope you're enjoying it. And let's go around the room. Let's first of all go to a man you may not have seen for a few weeks, but we're absolutely beyond delighted that he's come back to us today. It's Mr. Kent Spong. How are you, sir?
Good morning. Good morning.
Hey, give you a cheer. There we go.
Thank you. Thank you.
He's alive.
Thank you, subject.
How are you, sir?
Yes. Yeah, I'm not as foggy as I was.
Good. Or froggy, even.
Or froggy, even, yeah.
But good. It was good to see, mate. It's been a while.
Thank you. Yes.
You have been missed.
Yeah, well, normally means there's something wrong.
Well,
that's when I'm missed. It's broken. Where is he? So, yeah.
Well, apart from the bleeding obvious, how else have you been? Have you been busy, or you just been taking a little bit of time for yourself and just relaxing, or what?
Oh, and initially not very busy because it was impossible to concentrate on anything for any length of time. I was having trouble trying to remember which room I was in. Never mind anything else. So that's been coming back slowly.
Cool.
Yeah, so I'm only just the normal amount of mental now, as opposed to the full-on sort of like, you know, in the corner dribbling, pointing at things for no apparent reason. So yeah, so the tablets are working.
Good. Glad to hear it.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm on enough tablets to, mate, I rattle when I move. It's ridiculous. But yes. Yeah, let's not do that again.
Good. Well, no, indeed. But as long as you're feeling better, that's awesome.
Thank you.
I hear you've been doing a bit of furniture restoration.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Care to elaborate?
Yeah. And do you know what? I didn't get to play it.
Oh, no. And you didn't even call me.
It was literally drag it in,
yeah,
fit the caster, and then wave it goodbye.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go. Kent Spong, synth restorer and furniture fixer-upper.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the Blade Runner one, I mean, you know.
Well, the Blade Runner what? Let's put these people out of misery. What exactly was it?
It was a Yamaha GS1.
Very nice.
Yes, and she looked every inch like what it was supposed to. There's no scratches or dents, and it's in beautiful condition. So and working beautiful.
It's Yamaha's first commercial FM synth.
Yeah, it also led to a very interesting conversation with somebody who may have a series of extensive DX1 spares.
Oh.
Okay.
He will be letting me know at a later date.
You have my attention.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly what is on offer.
Yes.
He'll probably go, yeah, I've got this volume slider cap.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? They're still quite sought after.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah, it's only got the one. I mean, come on, they'll push it.
Yeah,
So, yeah, or, something like that. You go, oh, it's a screw that comes out the bottom or something, But with any luck, it's probably something like, oh, I've got,
Power supply.
a whole board for you.
Yeah,
They
nice.
go, do you want after-touch sensors, perhaps?
Oh, yes.
You never know. Yeah. You never know. So.
Cool. Oh, well, brilliant. Well, it's great to see you back, mate.
Thank you.
And you are very, very welcome. Let's move up north to see our illustrious leader, Mr. Ben Simpson.
How do?
How you doing?
I'm all right, yeah. I've not got anything as interesting as Kent to tell you,
Well, first of all, you're feeling better. Are you feeling better than you were before? Because you were under the weather.
Yeah, it's like ailment central, isn't it?
Isn't it? It's
Yeah,
old
yeah.
age, just what it is.
I'm getting better, yeah. I'm getting better. I'm still waiting for an MRI scan. And then,
Okay.
Then I'll know then if it's a bone infection, so it's
Okay.
it doesn't really show up on x-rays, so MRI, then I'll have to stop working from home and go back to work then. Pain in the arse, like. But
Know the feeling.
yeah.
Well, yes. Have you got bones in your arse? Blimey. Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
And all of them broken.
It's the half phone that's gone. Yeah.
Oh, we could go.
Yeah.
No, we
Yeah,
shan't.
no.
But you're back gigging, aren't you?
Yes, I'm making a slow return to gigging, hobbling on stage with a walking stick, and then sitting there on a stool.
Listen to us. Honestly,
It's a
it's
bit
like
weird.
Val Doonican, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit weird, but hopefully it's not going to last too long.
No, fingers crossed, mate. Fingers crossed. Oh, well, it's good. So it's good to have you functioning at a much higher rate than you were before. So well done.
Thank you.
Let's now bring in our special last-minute guest who graces us with his presence again. It's our dear old friend, Mr. Andrew Longhurst.
Hey,
Lord Longhurst of Bridge.
he's got a sore
baby.
finger as well.
That's his ailment. He's cut his finger.
Yeah.
Kiss it better.
Have you had an X-ray on that? Or?
No, but I cut it on a GS1
For the caster.
It was you, was it?
some sort of brass wheel. Just ran past me. Just in the street.
I think Matt's got us sorted out here. Like ProSynth retirement.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
How are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you very much. It's been an interesting week. There's been a lot going on with in the synthy world.
Yes, at last.
New releases and updates and whatever, which I'm sure we'll cover. And we've been busy at work, carrying on with our refurb and
Oh yeah.
lots of new kit and trying to decide which way to go, as you always do with these things. But it's fun. And here's a really good thing. I'm teaching my wife to sing.
Oh, cool.
Thus,
That's the microphone.
and a whole bunch of other kit which I really didn't have bought. But I've got all this stuff now, so I'm doing the music lessons. But it's fun.
Nice.
It's
Oh,
fun.
nice.
Very nice.
Jolly good. Excellent stuff. Well, look, thank you for joining us at such short notice. It's great to have you back, as always.
Good to be here.
And we'll get your opinion on the various bits and bobs that we're going to be discussing. Thank you for switching the camera, whoever did that. Let's see. So, before we get into the news, I just want to say hello to anybody that I didn't get to speak to or didn't spend huge amounts of time with last weekend at Synthesized, which was held at the Centre for Computing History in Cambridge. It was a very busy 2 days, very hot sort of couple of days. There's no aircon there, and when you've got loads of old instruments and stuff running, it gets rather warm. But I did meet Liam Fretwell, who's a member of our group. He brought down a whole wonderful bunch of gear and was performing as well with his keytar. It was really cool. Charlotte, who's in our group, she came down with her TR-808. There was another TR-808 there, a modded one that had been connected up to an ARP 2600, the likes of which I've never seen before, because to see one that good, you would have to be buying one in a shop in 1970 something whenever they came out. Wow. It was immaculate. And apparently the guy found it at a school and they bought it brand new, couldn't figure it out, And so just boxed it back up again and stuck it in the cupboard for 30 years or whatever. And he found it. And yeah, it was... I looked over and I thought, oh, that's one of the Korg ones, because it was so brand new looking. Stunning thing. Paul Soulsby was there with the Soulsby synthesizers. His work is coming on slowly but surely. It's some amazing stuff, and we're going to have to get Paul on to show us some of his hardware. It's amazing stuff. And of course, the guys from the museum itself had a whole array of wonderful computer-based kind of instruments. So there was a Yamaha CX-5M running some stuff. There was a Green Gate DS4 sampler there as well. Yeah, so, and then I was there with a Fairlight and an Emax and my VSS 200. So from the sublime to the ridiculous in terms of sampling, lots of other things. And there was a guy turned up with his S2800 and an Atari ST, and was just live composing drum and bass, which was just mind-blowingly good, because he was just rapidly going through. It was like he was flying through this S2800. I mean, he clearly knew it inside out, and he's like 10. No, actually, he was about 18, I think. But just crazy, just really talented people. So yeah, and lots of people visiting. And if I got to see you, brilliant. If I didn't get to say hello, sorry. And you want some pictures there on the Facebook page, as in the Process Network Facebook page. So great weekend then. Tomorrow, of course, is GearFest down at Tileyard in London. So that'll be an interesting day out. So going down with the boy, because they're doing some seminars about how to get into the industry, and of course he's doing all that. So yes, lots of good stuff. Anyway. Right, shall we get into the news? There's lots of it. We're going to have to skim through a few bits, I think, just to kind of get them all in. But let's first of all start off with this one, because I'm going to kind of hand over to Ben on this one. I wasn't aware of this happening, but UAD have started a subscription service called UAD Spark. You can try it free for 14 days, and it's around 20 bucks. Yeah, it's around 20 bucks a month. To get into. There is a video. Let's just have a quick look at that. At the moment it's just lots of pretty colours. Oh, there we go. So basically it's the suite of UAD plugins. Yeah, let's get no, forget that. Okay, so basically this is all native running software. You don't need any UA hardware anymore for this. This is all on Mac at the moment. Windows is coming in the autumn of 2022. I'm not going to use the American term there. It's the legendary stuff that you expect from UA. So that's, you know, all of the effects and a whole bunch of instruments as well. There's lots of really good stuff. It is incredibly well respected. Lots of people say it's the very best at, you know, what it does. As you can see, lots of stuff to go in there. So Ben, tell us a bit more about this. What do you know?
Well, I just know that they've joined the subscription model that everybody's going for, haven't they? You know, it's the latest addition to the pack. And what's different here is that UAD have moved away from this requirement of having like a really expensive bit of licensing hardware almost. In the past, the UAD software has been processed externally from your computer. And we're going back like 15 years ago when this first came out, I think. And back then, you couldn't run this quality of emulation really within your machine. It just grind to a halt. So I think that's where that idea came from of making the audio interface be like a license key for the software and do the processing externally.
Yeah.
But that isn't the case anymore, is it? It's like we're getting where we can have hundreds and hundreds of tracks going with all kinds of stuff on it. So I don't think that these are too demanding on current machines. So they broke away from that a little bit with this. But they're also offering native versions of the software now as a free, you know, like a free update to anybody who's bought it in the past. So
right, yeah.
If you were tied to a particular machine because it had a rack-mounted UAD audio interface or whatever. Now you can use that software on anything that you've got. You take it out gigging with your laptop or whatever, and that's at no charge at all. You know, if you've already bought it in the past. As a subscription, you don't get loads in it. It's not like the UVI one. The UVI one, I'm still going through that. I'm nowhere near the end. That's going to keep me going for the rest of my life. I think the UVI one. You only get a few things, but it's more quality rather than quantity. It's the modelling on this stuff is exceptional. A lot of it is like licensed, you know, so it's properly branded up and it sounds just like the real things. I've heard a few A/B stuff online with the original hardware that they're emulating it, and it is pretty good. Like it's really spot on. So for me, this isn't another one of my 2 subscriptions a month, you know, because it's a little bit above what I need, really. The Arturia effects will do me fine, you know. But some people who really want to nail that sound, or maybe a commercial studio or whatever, 20 quid a month's nothing, and you're getting access to a lot of quality stuff. But I don't think it is going to be for me. I'm going to try the 14-day thing, but before we know it, we keep on paying these subscriptions. We're going to be paying all our wages out on.
It does make you think. I mean,
synths and plugins.
Dom makes a good point. He says, with UAD hardware prices now plummeting, is it worth picking one up just to lower the load on your CPU? Which is a valid point.
It is a good point.
I mean, we were kind of talking about this before we came on air, but you know, with UA doing this, and the fact that, as you mentioned, Ben, you know, you've got Arturia with a massive suite of effects and instrument plugins, Roland with a big suite of instrument and some effects plugins, UVI with all of that stuff. We're now spoilt for choice, and we don't need dedicated hardware anymore. Are Universal Audio now playing catch up because they've got to stay up with, you know, the new boys in town? What do you think, Andrew?
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting. The UAD thing is really interesting. I think what I want to download it. You know, just try it for a month or something, because what I want to do is to compare it with a pal of mine who's got the UAD cards and see whether or not, first of all, the plugins sound the same as they do on the hardware cars, the accelerator cars, the Shark cards, and then also to try it against some of the other plugins that are out there, because I'm kind of wondering. I know they were good back when there was there wasn't enough grunts in an awful lot of PCs Macs to run them well. So I'm just wondering whether or not, you know, they were good back then. Are they still as good now? Are they still seen as being as good as some of the other stuff out there? Because we've been through a lot of different hardware emulations, quite recently, and as you say, there are a lot of other plug-in things out there. I guess, you know, it's down to whether or not that tool works for you better than someone else's. And I think, you know, you just said that, you know, you don't really need hardware anymore. Well, you know, if you look behind you, gents, I think you find you do. And, you know, I personally, I've moved again back towards hardware. I like it a lot. I like the struggle, and I like not the struggle. I like the tactility of it. But of the sort, as Ben was saying, UVI have got such a lot, and so have Arturia. I'm just wondering if there is actually a market for it. I mean, it was really good, but is it past its sell by?
Indeed. What do you reckon, Kemp?
Well, see, I think, you know, when you say about, you know, the computers are fast enough now, you know, don't have to worry about accelerator cards, it's kind of missing the point. I think you use an accelerator card just to take the weight off of the CPU, and that's always good regardless, because all it means is that you've got more scope to work in, whereas as opposed to running the software in this, in a more conventional plug-in way. But I must admit, I mean, my quad core, I mean, it's in the new machine here, which is I can't even remember how many cores that thing's got, but it's more than an orchard, I believe it said in the blurb. It's more than a vegetable shop anyway. But and the whole point is the card's there, and it's its own built-in eye lock, if you like, by simply having the card in there. Because this card I bought off, I think it's Ronnie Bromman, and it took them, I think, 4 years to get around to actually turning his license off on my card.
Oh, right.
So I had access to all of the plugins that Robbie had bought. I only had 4, and I had access to about 70 of them. And but of course I did use them in various mixes and then couldn't anymore. But I found them to be probably the best emulations of what they did. So if you had the RE201 or Dimension D, there was nothing even fucking close to how accurate these puppies are, and it needs a lot of number crunching to do it. So but it's another subscription.
Yeah.
I was like, for crying out loud. I mean, it's it's all right to have a subscription because that way you don't have to remember to pay, but you lose track of just how much money you are spending on stuff. And it's like, wait a minute, what do you mean I'm broke?
Yeah.
Why are you taking my house back?
But I suppose the fact that we've got all of these different choices now, if we want we can now choose the subscription service. We don't necessarily have to have all of them. I mean, yes, some of them have got things that others haven't, but I think as far as effects go,
we are getting a little bit like that, though, isn't it? It's like if I think back to my studio in the 90s, I had a Roland 88 key controller, a Roland U220, a Roland U110, was it the D110? The D110, yeah, and a Simmons mixer, and an Atari ST, and I did everything just with those things, and it never occurred to me that I didn't have much. You know what I mean? That was enough. And I was working away and I was quite happy. Oh, I need this kind of sound. I'll make that and I'll do this. And now it's like I've got a million times more possibilities than I had then. Something else comes out and it's like, maybe I need that. And it's like, do you really? You should have more. Isn't it? Yeah, but you should have more than you'd ever need just with one of these subscriptions. That UVI subscription, I shouldn't really need anything else. A keyboard controller and that UVI, and that's me done, 20 quid a month. But it's the temptation of all these. Am I missing out? Am I missing
too
out?
Easy.
Because,
it's too easy.
I haven't got that reverb. I'm missing out. I'm not as good as everyone
FOMO.
else.
Yeah, but it's the thing nowadays. We live in a subscription-based, system. Everything is based on a subscription these days.
Get me out of here.
I mean, yeah. Well, what was I looking at the other day? Paramount have just started their new subscription service, which is just a mere $9.99 a month, but it's on top of Netflix, Amazon, Apple, and all the others that
Cloud.
Disney, and then your music, But I mean, TV, musical instruments, whatever, everything's going to subscription because I guess, in a way, for the developers, it's much more of a sustainable revenue stream than putting something out every couple of years.
Yeah, but it's a marketing thing as well. It's what draws you in. Because, I mean, for instance, if it was done like it used to be done back in the day, like you go, oh, I want to have this particular channel that I want to watch, whatever, and they go, okay, well, that's £74 a year, and you go, oh, that's a bit much, I'll think about it. Whereas if it's only £9, and all I have to do is just fill in this stupid form and I'm done.
Yeah.
It's too easy and it draws you in. And it's the same with the software. Now.
Yeah, no, very true.
I could have the Roland Cloud because it's really easy to do. I can have all this access to all this stuff that I may or may not ever use.
Yeah,
Yeah, but at least I got it. Kind of
But it does have benefits, because whenever they want to release a little update here or a little fix there, you'll always get it. It'll just kind of feed through into whatever you've got, because your little app will be running in the background monitoring, and so there are benefits to it, and we have the choice. We don't have to go for this stuff. So.
I suppose the other side of this is that, I mean, and this is a sort of an odd little worry down a strange alleyway, but the thing about having software plugins, it's like renting a place. It's like renting a studio or renting a house, or paying for a car on a lease that you never end up owning. You're paying all the money, and at the end of it, you've still paid all the money, but you don't have anything to show for it. Whereas buying a piece of hardware, not this, but a piece of buying a piece of hardware, you kind of, if you use it, you use it a lot, and at the end of the day, when you finish with it, or if you wanted to get rid of it or something, it tends to have some residual value. So not all your money has gone and disappeared forever. Yeah. And I suppose it's that thing of I wonder how much of this is about having to have it because others do, and how much is actually really fundamentally helping you to make a living or do something so creative that you wouldn't be able to do it any other way. And I get it on the video side. I use a lot of plugins, and it's fine. On the music side, I'm finding it a bit harder to justify. Though the UV, I think, is pretty bloody amazing.
I mean, each subscription service has its own merits and its own pitfalls. I mean, somebody I think it's Kosh Takai said in the chat, he doesn't have the Roland Cloud because of their model. But I actually think that the Roland model is not too bad, because if you subscribe every year, they'll give you depending on you get 1 or 2 lifetime licenses. So I've been a member of the Roland Cloud now for 2 or 3 years, and I did take advantage of a particular offer. I now have 10 lifetime licenses. So that's 10 instruments that if I decide to ditch Roland Cloud, I still keep. Yeah. And I actually think that's a good way of doing it, because you're rewarded for your commitment, and you will always end up coming away, even if it's just for 1 year, you'll come away with at least 1 or 2 things that would have cost you that annual subscription if you'd have bought them separately.
How much do you use them?
How much do I use anything, really? I mean, I think if you put it into context of everything else I use them as much as anything else. I just don't necessarily do that much at the moment. But it's nice. If I want an 808, I don't need to go to samples now. I go to an 808 in software, and it's a really good 808. If I want a Jupiter 8, I have got, I'm spoilt for choice in some regards. But then others, like what's the Jupiter 4 and the Pro Mars and the SH, is it the 1000? I can't remember which is in the Roland. You can't get those anywhere else as good as that, and certainly the Junos as well.
But there's certainly this kid locked in a sweet shop overnight kind of syndrome. Like you want it all. Simply because it is available. Yeah,
but then you're paralysed by choice. It's that paralysis thing, isn't it? Paralysis through analysis. I've got so much. What rights do I like?
You have to, you have to exercise some self-restraint. But there you go. So UAD Spark, it's available.
Not something we're noticeably good at.
No, quite.
No, I'm still looking for mine. Yeah.
So if you want this, it's. I was trying to find out the exact price, but you reckon it's about £20 a month, which is kind of the going rate,
I think so.
But you get a 14-day trial, which I suppose is nice. You can give it a run out, and if it's better than what you've got, you can go for it. But there you go, UAD Spark available now. Let's move on to something interesting. This is fun. Let's have a little bit of fun. So this is a new piece of software from a company called Emvoice. I'm going to play you the demonstration video first, because that's probably the best way to key you all in on this. So this is Emvoice. Let's play this for you.
I never shut my eyes again. Listen, I don't want to say it, but I hope you know what this is.
Oh, a little bit of buffering there. I apologise for that.
We fell in deep, okay.
So yeah, I'm going to cut it there because it's buffering a little bit and it's annoying me. I don't know what it's doing to you guys. But this is a new piece of software called Emvoice One, and it's a synthetic voice instrument. You type in the words and you put the pitches in, and it will sing it for you. Essentially, you have a bunch of different voices that you can choose from. Let me just bring up the website here. It's, I don't know, I mean, these things, as I was saying to the guys before we came on air, the first thing I do is I type rude words in and see how well it copes with stuff like that. But it's not particularly expensive. It's $79 per voice, that is. So you can buy, there's 4 different voices at the moment: Keela, Lucy, Jay and Thomas. Thomas is a classic vocoder voice, and the others are kind of natural voices that have a range from C0 to C5, and yeah, you just basically type in the words, assign it to the different pitches, and there are clever ways of doing bends and things like that, and glides. Yeah, I mean, I thought that sounded, compared to some of the other things that we've heard that do synthetic voices, that sounded actually not too bad in a synthetic voice way. But it, you know,
I think it that doesn't really do it justice. I've been messing about with it a little bit, and it is pretty good. There's different voices. You don't have to have that woman. It doesn't have to sound that robotic. But if you're somebody that, sometimes I get a little bit disillusioned doing music because it's all instrumental, and if I get like a vocal stem or something and I can work to that, I'm flying. It's like that really inspires me, and I buzz off the complete picture, you know, coming back at me. And so I think something like this for me, writing, would be really good, because I could get these basic ideas in, knowing that they're going to be replaced by a vocalist eventually, but I don't have to put anybody through the ordeal of listening to my horrible racket that I make when I sing. So I think it's great. It's really, really easy to use. It's dead easy. You just draw notes on the timeline. It works in syllables, not words. So words with several syllables, you'd need, like, say if there's 3 syllables, you would need 3 notes in the timeline to pronounce that word, unless it's only going to do the first syllable. Even if you stretch it out, it'll just be the first syllable stretched out. Yeah. So things can get a bit unnatural sounding when you start stretching things out. But by some really fine tuning, you can create vibrato, you know, just by inserting like little notes around around the original stretched out note. And then I think if you hold command on the keyboard, you're not snapping to the chromatic scale. You can go independent between notes, and you can get some really realistic vibrato effects with that. It'd be nice if, because vibrato's vibrato as far as I'm concerned, it'd be nice if you could just like apply vibrato to the ends of long notes, you know, automatically, so you don't have to sit there for hours doing that. But I think it's really good. You can do quite a lot with the demo. I think you get all the voices, but it's a limited range. You've only got, like,
that's right, yeah.
It's like an octave or something that you've got to play in. But you can get a real feel from it from that. And I only put it on for about half an hour, and I had a vocal line with harmonies off other voices doing harmonies to the original. And it sounded good. It's, you know, it's well good enough for demo purposes. Yeah. And maybe with some creative sound design using this, who knows what you could get out of it. You know, it doesn't have to sound the same as it does now, does it?
I mean, there is a trend, isn't there, for this kind of artificial sounding voice in a lot of modern pop.
There is, yeah. I mean, I find it a bit strange that they give you a vocoder one, because you can just stick one of the other ones through a vocoder and it'll sound like that.
Exactly, yeah. One thing that is worth mentioning is that you do require an internet connection, because it goes to its servers and does a lot of processing. So a lot of the heavy lifting is done off, you know, outside of your computer. But I mean, I was using it today and messing around with it and just typing stuff in, and it was instant. You know, it was kind of doing it very quickly there. Anybody else got any thoughts on this one here? You pipe smokers, you at the bottom?
Good.
Ken.
Got your slippers,
Ed.
Hi.
Kent.
Well, do you know what? Yeah, I can see this is a pretty clever little tool. There's no two ways about it. I could have done with it when I was doing the SonicState.com competition thing. Track.
Yes,
So,
yeah.
yeah. Other music channels are available, and yeah, I can see it. But it is that sort of like, oh, it's that sound, is it? Okay. Yeah, I can see it being a good tool. Me, probably no, I'm not probably got an 80.
Yeah. Yeah. That's your answer for everything.
That's
Got
just
an
my
80.
go-to line. That is my go-to line, mate. I've got an 80. So, you know.
Yeah, well, if you have, you might as well. Andrew, what do you think of these?
Yeah. Here's the thing. I'm now constantly on the search for the fastest way from here to the speakers, from creative thought through to that. And guess what? I've got Celemony. And you can buy Celemony. You can buy Celemony for 81 quid for an essential thing, right the way through to whatever the highest version is. And I can sing really badly, and Celemony corrects it, does all that. And if I want to change performance, so I'm sounding more like a female voice or a child or whatever, or a deep dark, whatever, I can change all of that. And guess what? If I don't like the line I've picked, I can just sing it again. And it doesn't matter that I can't sing for toffees. It really doesn't matter, because I can do it. I can get roughly the rhythm and the timing and everything right. And I can get as good as this. And if I want to go robotic, I can. The funny thing is, I actually think for this, probably the best bit of it is the vocoder thing, because a lot of people find vocoding just a puzzle. They find it difficult. I mean, it's not, but they find it difficult. So if you've got an app which gives you that vocoder sound, gives you the Daft Punk or the Kraftwerk or whatever sound, if it gives you that sound, then maybe that for some people, that's a really good thing. I could see that being really useful.
Yeah.
But for me, I can just sing into this and Celemony. It's done.
Yeah. Just to bring in, because I've just saw that come through. So Wagyu saying Synthesizer V and Solaria, which I'm not familiar with, but I'll take his word for it. Apparently it destroys that for natural sounding female vocals in English, but always good to have more options. And thank you for the £5 donation. Speaking of which, Andrew Brooks as well. Sorry, I did see it at the beginning. Before you get too sloshed, yes, see you at GearFest tomorrow. Another £5 from you. Thank you very much, sir. Yeah, I mean there are options, definitely options. And this is just another one of those. I was just looking through while you were all talking there. I was listening, but I was just looking through to see if there was like a bulk pricing, because say each voice is $99, although they are on offer at $59 and $79 for some. But there's not one package, so you can't just buy them all, say for $150 and get a bit of a discount that way. But I guess that you've got a demo of each voice in the plugin when you get it, and then you just buy the one that you want, so you can test them all out and then just pick. But yeah, I mean, some of the demos, we won't go into too much detail because we don't have that much time, but some of the demos actually do, like Ben was saying, do these harmonies and sound really, really good. Sorry, my microphone's getting very loose.
I've got a concern that's occurred to me with something that you said, Robbie. It's that you need an internet connection for it to work. Now, it's a bit pessimistic, this, but what if I really get into this program and I really depend on it a lot, and nobody else does, and the company decides to close down? Even though I've purchased this, am I still going to be able to use it if that server's not there?
No.
Exactly. It says here, our audio engine uses gigabytes of individual files and highly complex processing to combine them into a finished vocal line. Blah, 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 blah. We place the engine on servers around the world for a seamless user experience, no matter how fast or slow your computer is. So basically, you're buggered. If, like I say, if it goes offline, for whatever reason, whether it's temporarily or permanently, and you've invested in this, it's screw you.
That raises a whole new question. What is this doing that's so intensive then? Because you've got things like Vocaloid, it doesn't need a mainframe hanging out the window. Why?
It's natural language processing, and I get it.
Okay, right.
that kind of stuff does take a lot of processing.
Yeah.
It's trying to understand how these things connect together, and then how the melody part of it is almost the easiest bit.
Yeah, yeah.
But actually, it's not. It's the hardest bit, which is what we're hearing. We hear it sounding like unnatural.
Yeah.
I mean, you were saying, Ben, that when you stack it and you get the harmonies, it sounds really good. It sounds like a bunch of auto-tuned harmonies. And as I said, I've got ceremony. So it's kind of, I'm just puzzling on this one. I think it's technology. Do we need it? I don't know. I'm going to check out what Wagoo suggested as well.
Yeah, always worth. Yeah, he knows his own.
But
But there you go. Emvoice. It's available now. It's you can download the demo and you get an octave range of all 4 voices. And then if you like one in particular, you can buy them. They're currently on offer, $59 or $79, depending on which one you want. And yeah, you pay your money and take your chances, and hopefully that might be around for a little while. If not, there are other options available. Right,
Sing
that's
into a
Emvoice.
microphone.
Can I
Sing it.
Yeah.
Can I just make one
sure.
observation? I'm looking at the list of things I know we're going to be talking about, and I know I'm going to be grumpy about
An awful lot of stuff.
Shall I just leave now?
Nah. It's balance, we have balance. That's what it is. That's why we call you in.
Mum would be grumpy as well. Anyway.
Right, let's see. What shall we do next? Let's have a look. Let's try and get a couple of quick ones through. So I want to mention this because he's a friend of the show, and hopefully I'm going to see him tomorrow at GearFest. Our friend Martyn Ware has written the first part of his autobiography that goes from birth to 1993. I don't know why it cuts off at 93. But there's definitely going to be a volume 2 because he's called this one volume 1. It's going to be available in August. It's £20 in hardback. You can pre-order it from a whole manner of bookshops. If you pre-order it from Rough Trade, I think they might still have stock. It will be signed by Martyn, and you'll get some exclusive postcards or something in the thing as well. But electronically yours, Martyn Ware, his autobiography, volume 1, is available from the 25th of August this year. I shall be buying that for sure.
Well, I went
very
looking
interesting.
for it before on Audible because it's got a button underneath saying
Oh yes, yeah.
I don't like doing reading,
Yeah.
I like it being read to me, and
Yeah.
You click the Audible thing and it just takes you to the Electronically Yours podcast.
Oh right. Well,
It's not
I
there
guess you
yet.
have to wait till the release date, and then it will go.
Oh.
I think they're waiting to release it.
I want it read to me in a high-pitched girl's voice.
Well, apparently
Yeah.
Martyn has done he's reading his own book, so he
Cool.
says.
Oh no,
So-
I'll have that. I'll have some of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's that. If you're into electronic music, that's going to be an essential book to have on your bookshelf. Just hit key. So yeah, it's published by Little Brown. It's out on the 25th of August. Pre-order it now from many places. But say Rough Trade if you want a signed copy, or buy it and then stalk Martyn and get him to sign it in person. Don't tell him I said that.
Yeah,
and we'll
I'm
hopefully
going to buy it. And then I'm
Definitely,
going to stalk him.
then stalk him. Yes.
I'm going to get you to
Hopefully.
sign me audio book.
Read me book to me.
Yeah. Don't try.
one of those other synthesized voices, Martyn.
Yes, do it all in Emvoice. Yeah, absolutely. So that's a little one. Let's see, what should we have next? Here's another little thing that we can just skip through. But I did post this or sent this to Kent and said, do you fancy doing this as a restoration job? This is currently available on eBay. It is an ARP prototype 16-voice electric piano. It's currently being listed at £149,999 and 99p. I'm quite why they put the 99p on there. I have no idea. Or cents, should I say? So this is this sort of prototype electric piano that they were doing or trying to do back in the day, and then I don't think it ever went into production. I really don't know a huge amount about it, but it looks a wonderful thing, albeit a little tatty around the edges. Could do with some love. That's what it should have looked like when it was
Needs some new casters on it, I reckon.
Need some casters, definitely. But it's being sold by Tone Tweakers in the US The thing that concerns me, I'm just going to say this here, is that there is a paragraph here called "First, a few words about price." They basically say we have no idea what it's worth, and yet they stick it up for 150,000 US.
I could tell.
But then they say we're listing it here in the hope that it will be able to determine its actual value and find a new home. If you want to pay our asking price, we'd be thrilled, but we're open to much more reasonable offers. Come on, guys, that's a little bit flaky.
250 quid.
Yeah, there you go. If we all chipped in, say 250 quid, they'd probably go, oh, maybe it's all it's worth, and you might get a bargain. But
Is all this work?
well, yeah, I mean, that's going to take some work. I don't what condition. I don't know what it is.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not entirely sure of it. It says it's being offered untested and uninspected and strictly as is, with the understanding that whoever ends up with it will likely need to have it properly restored by Kent Spong.
Yeah, because they know exactly why they're selling it like that.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
I've seen tone tweakers do that with Fairlights as well in the past. They just throw a rudimentary figure out there and hope that they might get it.
Well, this particular machine, right? It's an expanded on version of the ARP 4-voice piano.
Okay.
Which definitely screwed the company in the end. Because they were dreadful. I think their guarantees on them were, I think it was about 4.5 minutes, something like that. So like, right, you bought it now, bye bye. They were really awful. It just every single one of them, as far as I remember, came back, and that's a full 88 note version of it. It's like forget it, mate.
Yeah, because spares are going to be like rocking horse poop.
Yeah. Well, no, a lot of the spares will be there'll be modern equivalents of them at least. But the thing is, you're probably better off scooping that out and making it into a coffee table. It will have more value than that.
Or putting a real piano inside of it.
Yeah.
Oh, God forbid. No.
But actually, the pricing of it is actually fairly interesting in that we're talking about it, and I'm fairly certain I've seen a lot of chatter on Tinterwebs where people said 149,000, 150 grand. So people are talking about it, going and looking at it, and they're saying we'll take any offer. So they're getting a lot of eyes on it. It's a very clever market.
Well, that's why that CS80's up for 150,000.
And the DX1 as well.
Yeah. Because what it does is it artificially inflates the prices of the machines in the psyche. So when one comes up for 50 grand, it goes, oh, that's cheap. Whereas before it would have been 25.
Yeah.
And it's the same crap here, really, basically. They just thought, it's rare.
Mel Wesson, how are you, big boy?
Hey, Mel.
I'm sitting in tomorrow. Stick a Raspberry Pi in it. Job's a good one. I mean,
Don't hold back.
Let's be honest. It's a museum piece, that isn't it? I mean, nobody's going to really, I don't think, want to fix
the
that
museum of shite.
Well,
that's where it would be.
What they should do is they should donate that to Dina and have her put it in her collection. Simply because that's where it would be best kept.
That's what they should do. Yeah.
Because it's this very rare, unique, and ultimately rubbish thing that will just be a complete waste of time to restore and get working again. Because it's not something you can take out and about, is it?
Well, if it sounds like the 4-voice piano did, oi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you're interested, it's on eBay. ARP synthesizer prototype 16-voice electric piano. Well, Mel, you can afford it.
Stick with the mini moogs, mate.
150 grand on eBay. That's 150 US. So in the UK, that's 123 with the current exchange rate. But there you go.
And then import and shipping.
Oh, of course, there's that too.
Several million.
I have a poster, just a rolled up poster, movie poster, sat in a warehouse at the moment with £53 of duty waiting to be paid on a paper poster that wasn't even bought. It was a gift. And UPS had the audacity to put a value on it of $200. And so they want to charge me £53 in import duties. And I've told them where to stick their import duties, along with the rolled up poster.
Well, I told you about the spoiler today.
Indeed, yes, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Spoiler for
yeah.
my Mustang, $149 with tax and shipping, an additional $528.
What?
Yeah,
Bonkers, isn't it?
What?
I was going to buy a
Absolutely
driver's
bonkers.
seat for it, but I'm not going to bother now because I'd have to take out a fucking mortgage. Unbelievable.
Oh dear. Anyway, so yeah, taxes, buggers.
Yeah.
Right. Let's see. What shall we do next? I'm just trying to see if there's any other quickies we can squeeze in. Oh well, we might as well mention this.
Been known.
Tomorrow, if you're in London, somewhere near King's Cross, you can go to GearFest UK, which is being held at the Tileyard Studios, which is about 10 minutes walk from King's Cross Station north. Up is it York Road, I think it is, and then just hang a right. And there's going to be lots and lots of exhibitors there, exhibiting all manner of things such as software and hardware and studio gear. There's going to be Dolby Atmos demonstrations. There's about half a dozen talks, seminars about various topics. The OBX8 is going to be there, so that's worth the ticket price of £10 alone just to go in and have a play with it. ASM are going to be there, Korg are going to be there, Moog, Eventide, Sequential, the lot. There's a whole range of really good stuff, all held in slightly different areas of the whole Tileyard complex, which is rather large. And it goes from 10 till 6. If you're going, I will see you there at some point. I should be wearing this. If I don't sweat into it too much this evening. It's clean on, so I'll give it a good airing, don't worry.
Back in a chair tonight.
That's it, indeed. So yeah, I think Dom's going to be there as well, and I know Andrew Brooks is coming, Neil Wharton's bringing him down, and I believe Jim Glue is going to be there as well, so a whole bunch of people.
Group photo.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll have to try and get together and do a group shot, but I'll be there sort of from mid-morning onwards. Yeah, so that'd be good fun. So that's GearFest. Get your tickets online at gearfestuk.com. They're £10. Ken's asking, will Glenn or Ken be there? No, because they'd have to fly in from the US. I think, who does ASM distribution in the UK? It's probably one of the distributors that'll be there demonstrating, but the Hydrosynths are going to be there. Maybe I'll actually get to play one. And if they're not looking, I'll sneak one out the back door.
You're right.
So anyhow, yeah, I am. Right, what should we do next? Oh, let's see. Dance. Let's have some sad news.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do some sad news, shall we? Because we've had too much jollity and frivolity. Unfortunately, synthesizers.com, which is this wonderful manufacturer of large modular gear, posted this up on a Facebook group just the other day. As everyone knows, past couple of years have been difficult for families and businesses, both financially and emotionally. Goes on to say, we are at a difficult point financially and are staring at an unknown economic future. If you or someone you know would be interested in purchasing the business, they are interested and open to offers. So synthesizer.com, who have been a big producer of stuff. I mean, let's have a look at some of their gear. It's quite fantastic. If this is your thing, let's get the page. There it is. Bam, onto the thing. There we go. Yeah, I mean, this is the sort of stuff we're talking about, as you can see here. Large format modular gear. Prices that will make your bank manager weep, starting at around sort of $3.5 US, going all the way up to about 15 for a Studio 88. Sign of the times, gentlemen, that companies that are, I guess, in terms of synthesizers, kind of niche. They're a niche company in a niche market, I guess.
It's a tricky position, isn't it? Do you stay in your niche or do you expand into other areas to try and Modal was pretty high end with its first offerings, wasn't it? But then went into the more prosumer market really with some of the stuff, and I wonder if some of these companies are sticking to the guns a little bit too much and missing opportunities.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know enough about it. I think it's really sad that a company that is obviously creating wonderful gear is going to have to go. But I just wonder if, I don't know, could have been a bit more proactive and get it into more people's studios, and that would have solved it. It's easier said than done, though, isn't it? You know, that's the thing.
I guess one of the issues, I mean, well, it's not just one of these. One of the opportunities here was that huge, great box of loveliness was 15 grand, which sounds like a lot of money, right? But you're paying that for one, vintage synth. It's not necessarily, whatever. I think that looks amazing. And I think the big problem with anything like this, you've got an awful lot of money tied up in components. And then when COVID came along, suddenly, I know there was a lot more people buying modular bits, but they're buying Eurorack stuff. They're not buying big systems. Yeah. Because all of that kind of came to a grinding halt for a while. I think it's a tremendous shame. And I just wonder if they couldn't look at perhaps Managlyph modular stuff. I'm just wondering if they couldn't perhaps do something where they tried to crowdfund keeping going. Because they've been there for a long time and they do some great stuff. I noticed they also do some Eurorack stuff.
Yes.
So whether or not they've just, the times we've been through have been very telling on a lot of people, and maybe they've just kind of gone, I've had enough.
I'm not sure that COVID and everything is actually responsible for this.
Okay.
I tell you what, look, my take on it. When synthesizer.com first came out, it was a massive blessing in disguise. Moog stuff itself was costing a fortune. And there's a reason that Moog modules are the size they are. It's simply because when they were first designed back in the 70s, that's literally as small as you could make them, really. Yeah. When you've got Eurorack stuff out, and it's doing, let's face it, more, because synthesizer.com was always considered a more vanilla type of modular, like the Moog modules and Moog modulars themselves are. They're quite vanilla. There's not a lot of colour involved. You get other modules to do more interesting, snappy things, but when they were doing it back in, the 04 or whatever it was when they started out, something like that. That was a niche market that was going to work because people were looking for that stuff. But now they're too big, they're too expensive. Anybody who was really going to go down that road has bought them, and it's done. They should have seen this coming. What they should have done is they started going, look, what we're going to do, guys, we're now going to make the synths.com system in the smaller footprint. We're going to make them in Eurorack. Concentrate more on bringing in other types of modules as well. And because they've already got the groundwork's there. They got their name, and they should have run with it. But they've staunchly stayed with the Moog format, which really doesn't have a place anymore. Everybody wants it cheap and tiny.
Especially when Moog have come back.
Yeah, but you see, because Moog with the originals, and nobody expects anything else other than what Moog are going to do. Whereas synthesizer.com was always going to be were the kind of these guys that came in from the sidelines to fill a hole because of Moog disappearing, and people seemed to want modulars but couldn't afford the Moog stuff because it had got too expensive. But it should have adapted and rolled with that and kept a much closer eye on what the market was doing, because Eurorack was just taking it. Yeah. And there's no room. You know what it's like. I mean, I've had a 110 modular stack of them down in the workshop, and it's big. It's really, it's big. It's heavy and it's chunky and all that, and it's a real massive. Oh, I'm not going to move this unless I've got two other people here to help me. And that's just each cabinet. They weigh a ton, and nobody's into that anymore. Then when it can have it in Euro.
Do you think a company like Moog would they be interested in buying this up in terms of getting the IP and then maybe sticking it out?
Not really, because basically synthesizer.com were literally kind of cloning Moog modules. They've already got the tech. They don't need it.
True, yeah.
Could it not be like what Squire is to Fender, though?
It could be, but it has to be more relevant to today's market. So they literally got to take every module that they do, bring it down to Euro, and go with that size, and then bring it, like I say, bring in some other interesting modules into that fray, and run with that. But it needs a whole retooling, and it's going to cost a fortune.
I wonder if they wouldn't be, they wouldn't have more success just taking everything they've got so far, they've got left, because they seem to be running out, they said, and putting it into a room somewhere and then renting that out as a huge, big modular rentable studio, with all that kit in, because there's going to be, maybe there'll be people that want to do that.
I mean, I was expecting them at one point to take some of their modules, lay them out into a case and bolt a keyboard on it, and sell it as a port. Like, well, Mo did it with the Mini. It's literally what the Mini is. They took, these are interesting modules, put them in a case, sit up in bed, stick a keyboard in it, a couple of wheels, let's go. And it was hugely successful. And they could have done that as well, but tried to do it in such a way that was cheaper, but still have it patchable, so that it's interesting, then it can talk to other machines.
Do you think maybe they've waited too long to do any of this, and now they've got to a point where it doesn't matter what they do, that they're just not going to be able to sustain the business?
Yeah, I think the market's run away on them.
And I think maybe with lockdown, I mean, just in terms of, because so many people have adopted and gone into the whole Euro rack thing, I think maybe they would look at that and go, well, okay, things are a bit quiet now, but everyone's getting into modular. They're not getting into modular; they're getting into Euro rack. It's
different. Isn't it?
Maybe that's part of the issue. But we don't know. It's just a shame to see anyone with a business like this.
I mean, that might not actually be the case of it. It's just that's how I personally. It's kind of, you have a mild stroke and suddenly become very self-opinionated, don't you? You know what I mean? It's like, well, that's an excuse, isn't it? So,
that what happened to me.
But that's how it feels anyway. The market ran away with them, and they just got left at the side of the road.
Well, there might be somebody out there, a wealthy benefactor, or somebody with a plan to take this, offer them a decent amount of money for the business, and then take this and maybe do something, have the ability to do something a little bit more commercially viable these days.
May have to be a consortium now.
Just put a different silk screen on it so it's not black and doesn't look like Moog. Make it a completely different colour. Take the wooden end, do something to make it stand out.
I think the modular community, I think, like you said, we're talking about maybe a bunch of people clubbing together to buy it. I think the modular community has enough of those people, so who knows? It might be a consumer buyout and might get taken down a slightly different route. Who knows?
I wish them well, though.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Whether you use modular or not, I mean, this would not affect me in the slightest. But it's not good to see a business go out of business, especially one that's making beautiful things like this. So fingers crossed, somebody should. Matt says, give Ty a shout.
Well, I know of at least 2 customers who had synthesizer.com systems, big ones, and outed them to buy in those Moog reissues.
Oh, right.
Really?
Yeah. Because they were made by Moog.
Yeah.
Do you know if they sounded any different? Did they sound completely different? Did they sound good? I've no idea.
Yeah, they sounded quite Moogish. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But then once sort of like Moog come back out of the woodwork and started doing it themselves again, and go, somehow that's more authentic somehow, because of it's got the name on them. And suddenly they didn't want their pretenders. And that should have been the time that synthesizer.com go, time for a rethink, guys.
Yeah.
Well, if you are feeling flush and you're looking to buy a modular synthesizer company, then synthesizers.com are willing to listen to your sensible offers. But we wish them the very best, and we hope that something good does come out of it. And that everyone involved with synthesizers.com comes out of it okay. So fingers crossed, and hopefully something will come of that at some point. Right, let's move on to some lighter-hearted news. This is an interesting one. I don't know a huge amount about this because I haven't had time to look into it too much, but there's a new thing coming out, and it's called the Midicake ARP. And I think the best way to kind of get this going is just to watch the video. It's a 20-minute long video, so we'll just do the beginning bit here, but have a listen to this because this is quite interesting.
Hi guys, so we're just going to have a look today at the new unit. Here it is. I've got no real plans for this video other than to kind of explore and have a look around.
So let's skip
So
ahead
I've
a
got a
bit.
simple piano going to
go.
begin with. We've just got a one-step sequence. Simple piano, Fender Rhodes or something. Japanese style synth. I think it's a dupe. Something a bit West Coast, something a bit East Coast. So we'll start off over here. I'm gonna set up a chord sequence.
Let's try and get a
and
little bit
then
ahead.
F.
I think I've chosen the wrong video here, guys. I think there was a better one.
Obviously is the number.
Let's go to their website. But basically, this is a... I'm going to try and get this correct. Otherwise,
I think at the bottom of the page on their website, there's like examples.
Examples, yeah. That's
something
what
like
I
that.
probably should have done. So it's basically an arpeggiator, but it's not just any old arpeggiator. Have I brought in the wrong thing? Here we go. So it is 4 generators synchronized with external sequences to track changes as the performance evolves. Intelligent note matching keeps you always in key. What's the term? That's it. Multi-channel parametric MIDI arpeggiator. And it looks a lovely little thing and very kind of inspirational in terms of the sounds that it was producing. So let's, here we go. Here's some sample patches. Let me bring this up here and we'll share the right screen this time. God, we're so professional, aren't we?
We are.
Well,
I don't like it.
here we go. Let's add this. Here we go. Can you hear that?
Yes.
Aye.
Here we go. Oh, blimey, he's moving quick. So it has a kind of a chord mode to it, and yeah, it's just a clever little thing. But it kind of came out of, well, I say came out of nowhere. I think the guy put this up, put a video up, and had just like, he was overwhelmed with interest in it. I'm never too sure about a little box that does stuff that you can probably do elsewhere for less in software. Maybe I don't know. What do you guys think? Anyone got an opinion?
I'm wondering what the point is. I've looked at all the I've looked at all the videos, and I
Straight
can
to
see
the
it
thing.
there's a couple of things that are kind of okay, you know. But I've I've got different pieces of kit that do all sorts of wonderful ARP generation and sequencing and all the stuff that it says it can do. You know, when you watch this, it says you can create your own, tunings and your own whatever, which is kind of, well, you can do that with sequences or MIDI ARPs or the kind of stuff you get, phrase technology on the Rolands. I'm not sure what niche it's fitting or it's dealing. I don't understand what it's for, and I can't see that it's doing anything. Well, let me go at this another way. When I first saw it, I thought, well, that could be interesting if it really does follow whatever I'm playing, and it does it in an intelligent way, which makes what I'm playing sound really cool and wonderful, and it gives me some creative whatever, and that would be good. And I wanted to see videos of it, of someone playing a keyboard with it doing something really rather wonderfully musical and creative, and I just haven't seen that. I've just not seen it, and I'm puzzled. I'm puzzled by it.
I wonder if it's maybe more geared towards live performances and hardware jams, to use that term, where people have got a tabletop full of wonderful little boxes doing things, and this thing can be going there following what you're doing elsewhere and adding some other stuff to it that's kind of random and interesting, or whether it's something you would use in a studio recording. I don't know. It just, to me, it seems more like a performance thing than, or a creative, sort of like ideas thing. I don't know.
It just looked like the time it took to actually put something different and unique and creative together was a lot. It seemed to take a long time, and at that point I'm thinking, well, I can use phrasing, riffs and other arpeggios from any number of other things. I just couldn't quite see why or what it was doing that would. I'd like to be persuaded otherwise, but I've not seen anything that's made me go, wow. Not a thing, which is a shame. But
yeah, thing is, there's no price on this. It's not available yet. This is apparently he's gone through a number of iterations. This is the latest one. I think he's just kind of finishing things off to try and get it into a manufacturable state. If this is a couple of hundred, maybe $499, then I think this might actually be a successful thing. I can see a market for it. It's not my market. But I can see a whole bunch of people who, people like Andy Brooks and Jim Glue, who go out and do these kind of live 20-minute things where they've got a whole bunch of stuff, different boxes doing different things. I think one of these might be a really interesting tool. Not for me, though. I don't know. Ben, what do you think?
I think it doesn't, unless I'm wrong. It's just a arpeggio generator. It's not generating any sounds in any way. So.
Oh, I thought it had sounds built in.
I don't think so.
No,
maybe I'm wrong.
So I think that it should only be around £200 maybe, and
okay.
I think it looks great. It's wonderful to see Professor Brian Cox making videos again. That's music stuff, and I don't know. I think it looks amazing. If it functions half as well as it looks, I think it's going to be great. But at the moment, I'm agreeing with Andrew. Really, it's not wowed me in any way. I want to be wowed because I look at it and I think that's nice. So I won't mind one of them. But what it's doing is, I can do that on the motif. The motif's got a really comprehensive sequencer in it, and you can use that for all kinds of stuff. Arpeggio. So I don't know.
I want it to impress me, but so far it really is just left me,
The one thing, people are mentioning sort of similar things in the chat, like the Noodler or the NDLR. The one thing that I thought of that was doing something like this was Grey Wolf's Blue ARP, which was originally like a free plug-in, but he's now built a hardware thing, and that does like way more because it has built-in pattern sequencers and all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff that can really take you off in a place that you probably would never expect to go. That's not particularly cheap either, but I was just trying to think of other things that are like this.
What's the modular? The Euro rack thing. Is it the Ocean?
You're asking the wrong person here.
Yeah, and there's things like the Buchla easel, which which does all sorts of wonderful and amazing things once you can get your head around it. But it is a wonderful thing for generative stuff, and there are various different modules which are for Euro racks particularly are doing really good generative things. Blue ARP, there we go. That's good. I'm just wondering. I was hoping this was going to be one of those, but for MIDI, because most of those don't seem to lift out of a rack and just appear on your desktop. You have to have it in a Euro rack. So if it was something like that, I'd get it, but I can't see that it is.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I'm all for ingenuity and for people coming up with new and wonderful different things, and hopefully we'll see we get a price on this, and we maybe see it used outside of its own little environment, see it used with other things, we might have a different opinion. Of course, if the developer is watching, then by all means get in touch, and we'll try and expand on that. But Midicake ARP, midicake.com is the website, and so there's no price, there's no availability yet, but do keep an eye out for that, because I think that could be quite an interesting development over the coming months. Absolutely. Right, let's do a couple of bit of software sequencer things, shall we? So I often tarred with the brush of being a bit of a Reason fanboy, and I won't deny that in any shape or form, but they've come out with a new player. So with Reason, you have all your tools down the side, and you have instruments, effects, utilities, and players. And players are things that kind of make your life easy. So pattern generators, whether it's for bass lines or drum lines, they've got a new one, and the new one is called Chord Sequencer. Let's have a look at see what that does.
A chord, on its own, can be a beautiful thing. But it's where it goes next that can start to tell a story. And with each additional chord, it begins to reveal the song inside. Chord Sequencer, the latest player MIDI effect to arrive in the Reason rack, addresses the timeless question at the heart of every chord you've ever played. What comes next? What's the best chord to follow up the one happening right now? Choose your song's key and one of the dozens of chord sets loaded into Chord Sequencer, and you've got answers to that question. But not just one definitive, only correct answer. That's not how music works. Instead, Chord Sequencer lays out several choices across your MIDI keyboard, starting at C1 and ready for you to explore. With any chord selected in our set, we can see the safest, most sonically pleasing answers to the what comes next question showing up as the brightest chords on our display. Select one of these chords, and we have a whole new set of choices for where we could take this progression. We could stick to the safest and brightest green choices,
So I think we get the idea there. This is, forget your music theory. This will work it all out for you and tell you where to go. And I think there's a place for stuff like this. I like these things because if I'm feeling like I want to do something, but I'm lacking a little bit of like inspiration, or I've got something in my head, I'm not entirely sure where I want it to go, this will give me, some easy pointers. What I liked about GarageBand on the iPad was that you could choose a key, and then everything there was in that key, and you could move from one chord to another, and it sounded like it should be there, and you could come up with some things really, really easy on the move. I can see this being very, very useful. Music by numbers, Ben.
I really liked it, I've only watched the videos. I've not tried it because I've cancelled my Reason subscription now because to accommodate me UVI subscription. But I kind of regret getting rid of it, especially with this, because this is the kind of thing it is when you've got those blank moments and you just can't come up with anything, that you click on a few things and you just spot something in it. You're still making it, it's just helping you, and you'll spot something and then you can expand on that and really elaborate on it, just the way that two chords go together. If you have two of these players on top of each other in your rack and they're both playing different chords at the same time or something, so you'll stumble across something. Cubase has got something similar to this in it, the chord track, where it's very similar. It works in a very similar way, but this, I think they've nailed it, because I love that interface where the darker the green goes, the more kind of left field the chord goes. I think that's so user friendly, and then you've got the little timeline underneath where you can just drop them in. I just think they've nailed it. I think they've got it dead right. You're right that we are getting to a point where you probably won't need, like my son Sam, he's got GarageBand and he's got no musical training whatsoever, like couldn't play a chord, but makes these like wonderful pieces of music, you know. And I listen to them and I think, God, I've been doing this years and you've knocked that out in an afternoon. It's great.
Yeah.
And we are heading more towards that, where this like unique skill set that we've got is opening up to everyone.
Yeah.
And is that a good thing? Maybe it's just a bit of bitterness that you've wasted like 40 years learning how to do something, and now there's things that come along and do it for you. But I do really like it. I think it's great. I think the way that it works is so on my wavelength. That would work brilliantly for me. But I don't have the subscription anymore.
When stuff like this comes out, I think we all fall into this trap of thinking, oh, this is just, it's music by numbers. People will be making entire pieces using devices like this or similar sorts of things. But actually, I've used some of their other players in the past simply just to come up with an arpeggio or a bass line. And then everything else I've built on top of that myself in the traditional fashion, so to speak. So I always look at these things as ideas generators or things to use on the move when you've not got, you're not surrounded by all your hardware. You can just open up a laptop and just start constructing an idea and then bring that back into this environment and start messing around with it even more. I don't know. What about Kent? What do you think?
Me personally, no. Because for me, half the fun is finding those chords myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, any tool, use anything and everything that gets you to where you need to be. I like the idea of where it shows you where you go one particular way with a chord, and then it shows you, well, look, these chords will work with that, and you can try one of them. But you may even when you pick one and go, yeah, but that's not what I was thinking, and then you go looking for what it was that popped into your head because of this. Was presented to you. So good idea. But if anything, that video should have been presented by Dr. Brian Cox. Not the one, but that one. We're talking about chords being a beautiful thing, So,
hey man, it's really beautiful,
Yeah, because it's like, sort of like sweet and that. Yeah,
it's just beautiful.
Yeah, and I mean, if you can call up you're in a rut. And you can call this thing up and you go, right, that's the chord I'm playing. Can we please just go somewhere different? Let's not just go to the same old chord every time and go, yeah, okay, and turn it off and move it, and you can take it from there. Doesn't mean you have to start with it and finish with it at all. So it's always good to have these bits and pieces if it's going to help.
Yeah, because I'm not a proficient keyboard player, and sometimes I'm sort of banging out chords, thinking, that sounds nice, I can't, in my head, I know where I want it to go, but I lack the technical expertise to know what that chord is or where to go within the key. And so having something like this to tell me, well, look, these ones are the most obvious next choices, and then these ones are maybe not so obvious. Then I can find that thing and then get moving again, rather than sort of like messing around. So
it's up to the individual.
On that subject, Matt Johnson from Jamiroquai did a video on inversions, and I found that really kind of inspiring. I watched that video and I went away and I was writing all kinds, because I was just doing inversions that I don't normally try and switching bass notes, and I was coming up with all kinds of stuff.
I'm an inversion whore. I really am. All the time. If I can use it, it's in there.
Yeah.
Love them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I always think, sort of play a chord, think, that sounds nice, but actually I'm going to play that note that I've got my little pinky finger on. I'm actually going to play that, an octave down. I'm like, oh, that's slightly different because the bass notes change now, and like you say, inversions are a really nice, quick way of just playing the same notes but in a different order, and you get something that's a bit more interesting.
Like, an inverted D minor with an A bass, it sounds.
I have no idea what that is.
It sounds quite nice, though. Yeah, it's it's like really nice.
You're talking music theory now. just no.
On Switch, that's about it.
Yeah. Andrew, any thoughts on this?
Yes, you see, I told you I had angry.
Are you going to be grumpy?
I'm not so much angry about this, because here's the thing, right? We've all used lots of different synths, and there are many software synths and or hardware synths where they'll have arpeggiators, or arpeggios or sequences. You hit a key and it does something, and it's kind of, that's, you go, oh, that's really cool. That's the basis for something. And you start picking stuff out, right?
Yeah.
And you can then try different chords over the top of it, and you go, oh, that's a really wonderful way of modulating this. And let's face it, most of us aren't going to be playing, live. We're not. So we already do that, and we do the same with drum patterns and drum loops. So we're already used to doing this kind of thing, or taking a famous riff from something, sampling it and putting it in, and then doing a slightly different interpretation of it. I think what I don't like about this, it's not for me. I will say that up front, but then you probably guessed that. But the reason it's not for me is I'm trying to find the best way to phrase this. It's like stolen knowledge. I'm not sure you learn anything from this. I think the interface is fab. And I agree for certain cases, for some people, that's going to work really well. But not doing it yourself and not trying to find your way around those sort of blockages you have means you're missing out on part of the learning. And I also think that part of what makes that work, why I like doing that going through that process so much, is because I play a lot more live now. And I think as soon as you start playing live, your chops just come up. You have to pull this thing together. So you're constantly looking for ways of moving stuff through. And I think that kind of takes away from that journey, that emotional journey of finding chords that work. So I wouldn't use it. I really like the interface. I think they've been very clever with it, but not really for me.
Not for you, no.
No.
Well, I say it's horses for courses, and you can use it if you want, and you don't have to.
Yeah.
And the beauty of Reason now is that if you've got Reason, so you can buy this and add it to your package, or if you are a Reason subscriber, it's in the package. You got it day one. You can not only apply this to Reason's instruments, but you can also apply it to any other plugin, VST plugin that you've got in there as well, and hardware. So you can use the external MIDI feature, and you can use this with external hardware. So I actually got there was Arturia launched some new sounds for the Polybrute just the other day. And there was this really nice kind of sound in there, kind of a plucky type thing, and I just midied it out to that, and wow, this was now playing my Polybrute and getting some nice things out of it. So it's a cool little thing. And of course, I think you can also use it in the Reason Rack plugin, which means you can use it in any other sequencer that supports the Reason Rack plugin, which is another reason to have Reason.
That'd be the only way I used it.
Yeah. Well, I still, the thing is with me, I'm so hardwired into Reason that I can just turn it on and I'm just doing stuff. As much as I am frustrated by it, certainly the last couple of years, but the fact that I can just pop it up on my laptop or here, come up with an idea, and then kind of transfer that really easy into things like Logic. I'm going to keep it around for a little while yet, I think.
I also have to. I mean, you if you still have old versions of Reason before it became subscription, you can still run it.
Of course,
not the same thing, but it's a good piece. I still use it from time to time. And also Ben was saying earlier about how different people have put up videos of how to play around with inversions or the rule of five. That kind of stuff, where when you watch those, you go, "Oh man, that's amazing! I should try that." And you do, and suddenly you're learning a whole technique, and you're generating all this other stuff. Because guess what? You've had to play it, and so muscle memory and everything else, and it's part of what you do. So I really, really admire that way of doing things. I think it works really well. Yeah. I'm just not sure for me that it's adding anything. I'm not sure it's adding anything for.
It does. It does make you wonder if, like people, like legendary songwriters who've come up with classic chord sequences, is that something like physical or just purely mental? Would they have got the same results by pressing buttons, or is it some sort of emotional connection with the
I'm sure that. So I've been having this conversation a lot with people recently. If you watch any really good guitar, any guitar, not even a good guitar player, or a saxophonist, or a pianist, or a drummer, they pull faces. Even singers, when they're hitting a particular note, it's a very physical thing, going from one thing to another, doing a particular note. You see a guitarist putting everything into bending a note. He's going, he's doing. They're doing something because they can't not. Because the act of doing it is just you're just bending a string. There's nothing you don't need to do all of this, but you can't stop yourself because it's hardwired. It's tapping into your emotional self. That's what music does. And I think so you were talking about gifted composers who have written all these hit things. I don't know if they're sitting at the piano going whatever, but I'm certain, it'd be really good to have Richard in on this conversation the next time round. Do a conversation just about this, because I think that journey is not one you just do as a technical exercise. There has to be some of it has to come from here to really.
Yeah.
At some point it has to. Yeah. But I might be wrong.
Yeah, it's like the body movements I do when I play an 80 as opposed to playing any other keyboard on the planet.
I was watching. Sorry, I would just to finish this off. I was watching Ian Boddy the other day. He was doing. He was just showing some clips from his recent ambient thing, and he was doing stuff which is ambient generated. He's not playing all the notes, but it was beautiful. It was absolutely hauntingly beautiful. And the thing is, at lots of different points, he's made choices about what to connect to where and what to run at what point. He's made a lot of choices, which, although he's not playing each individual note, the overall soundscape and the way it's evolving, he is controlling. He's working that a bit like an engineer. A really good engineers will, when they're mixing a track, will add that something extra to it. Yeah. And I think that's an often unregarded part of what we do, and it's probably the best thing. You all know it's the best thing when you're sitting there playing. There's a moment of absolute clarity where you're going, "Is that me doing that?
Yeah.
How did that happen?"
Yeah. Tears streaming down your face.
Yeah. And the last time was 1961.
There are other software sequencers available, and one's just had an update, and that's Bitwig. And I've never touched Bitwig, so I'm coming at this from a completely uneducated perspective, which I'm sure for a lot of you isn't a surprise. But it's just been updated to 4.3. Does anybody here use Bitwig?
I used it once.
Yeah,
I used it once.
Yeah, I mean, I know that if it was like an offshoot. Some people left Ableton, and this is what they came up with, if I'm not mistaken. I might be. It has been known. But yeah, I mean, it's just been updated to 4.3. So there's new delays, there's new convolution reverbs in there. Polymer, which is an instrument that sits in there. I mean, it's a kind of a grid-based thing. I'm not a big user of it, so I'm not entirely sure how wonderful this update is, but I wasn't sure if anybody here used it and whether it was
I watched all the videos and that convolution thing that's on screen now. That's really nice.
Yeah, it does sound nice.
It's dead easy to use as well. You can just drag your own waveforms in it and use them as impulses.
Okay, yeah.
It's
pretty good. I quite like this as well. I think I'm probably going to go and have a little dig around inside of Bitwig Studio now as a result of seeing some of this. So it wasn't particularly on my radar. I want to see if it works well. I want to see how it comes across.
It's not horribly expensive either, is it?
I've got a copy of Ableton that I got free with something a bar, so I can't remember which it was now. It might have actually been that key thing there.
Yeah.
But I've come to the conclusion that I'm too long in the tooth to try a new DAW. I've got Ableton, I've got Logic, I've had Reason, and I'm sticking with Cubase because I'm just comfortable with it. But also for the really sad reason that I really like my CC121 hardware, and it only works with Cubase. And that becomes like second nature to you, that little device, and they've got you with that. Because once you You've got that muscle memory on the hardware. You don't want to use anything else.
No, and
Yeah.
you've learned your tool set. You've got your tool set worked
Yeah,
out.
I used Bitwig because it came with the Roly Rise.
Okay.
Oh, really?
And I tried it out because it was there, so I tried it out, and it was like having an illicit affair with somebody I didn't fancy. And I wanted to go home and be with Cubase. Do you know what I mean? So I don't even fancy her. Why am I doing this? It's like, ugh.
Oh dear.
Do you know what I mean?
You look
And
good
it
at
was-
first, but
We've all been there. Yeah.
yeah, it was all right.
Beer
It was all like,
goggles.
yeah, and then didn't find it was anywhere near what like it was going to be. The dress made it look too good, and you get the dress off, and it's like, Jesus Christ, I'm going home. I expect your letters, viewers.
Yeah. Somebody.
I wasn't wearing it at that time.
Ken brought this
Yes,
up in
you
the
were,
point.
you lying cow.
This is a good point. It's multi-platform and it includes Linux as well, which I guess
right.
would please a section of the crowd.
Yeah.
Because not all doors are. But yeah, I mean, it's been updated to 4.3. It seems like now that it's it's kind of been up and running for a while, it's now gathering sort of momentum and following. But yeah, it's not something I'm, like I say, I've got with what I know what I'm working with, and I'm happy with that. And yeah. But anyway, if you're a Bitwig user, it's been updated to 4.3, so that's available now.
It looks really good. It looks really good if you're not already,
for what it is,
like,
yeah. And say it's
invested in
79 quid for like the basic version, and then the full bells and whistles is only 299. Which in the grand scheme of other sequencers is very reasonably priced. So
I'm going to try it, and then I can have a good moan next time.
yeah, exactly.
It's got one of the best looking interfaces, that's for certain. I think
Yeah.
really good,
As Kevin, who's Kevin?
Who's Kevin?
As Kent said, it's about having, it may look pretty, but
yeah.
So
Keep your
our
clothes on.
friends at Cherry Audio have just launched a new plugin, and it's an effect. They've taken the Galactic Reverb from Dream Synth and gone crazy with it. Let's have listen to what's happening here.
Sold.
So exactly, $19 is all that costs. It's the new reverb from our friends at Cherry Audio, and they've done something quite different. It has. I'm not saying that anything that's happening in that plugin hasn't been done elsewhere, but it's for $19 to have that amount of kind of reverb functionality and specialness going on. It's just like, Jesus, $19.
it reminds me of the TC reverb way back in the sort of 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
It's very, very similar kind of sound, but really lush, really lush.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm going to be getting it.
Yeah.
That's all right.
I picked it up yesterday, and I've been playing around with it, and it is a lot of fun. That ducking feature is ducking good.
I see what you did there.
That was almost funny.
Yeah.
Or should be one of these, really, shouldn't it? There we go. Sound effects and everything here.
Tumbleweed video.
Indeed. James Dyson, who's in the chat, has done some. I don't know, James, did you do any patches for that? I know you've done some sounds using that, and he's got a new bank out, I think, today for the Dream Synth. Which is incredibly good value for money. So check out James Dyson's page on Facebook. I'm sure he'll put a link up. Feel free to put a link up in the chat if you can. If not, send it to Sass, and Sass will do it.
Yeah. James's sounds are always great, and he's done
a great
a demo.
value as well.
Yeah, he's done a demo of this, and it just sounds incredible. The piece of music's brilliant.
Yeah,
it's great.
yeah.
And they're all his patches as well.
Stop blowing
Yeah.
smoke up his proverbial.
Well, I just think
No,
I was dead
he
impressed
deserves
when
it,
I
yeah.
saw it. Like, I was
Yeah.
like, oh, that's our James. He's done that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's a good lad. He's done some great stuff. He's got a new sound set for Dream Synth, which was where this kind of effect originated from. They've taken it and they've expanded on it. I'd say I was playing around with it last night actually, and just putting hardware through it and software synths through it, and I was getting something usable and nice and interesting and different. That's the thing. I was getting something different from it very quickly.
The modulation sounds really flattering as well.
Yeah.
Kind of, it's just nice.
And it's a nice, straightforward interface and a whole bunch of presets. I'm guessing Mitchell designed the interface on that one again, as Mitchell does for all of the Cherry Audio stuff. I have to say, when I saw the teaser, because they did this thing, they put the video up, and then they quoted Space Oddity, and I thought, oh, have they done a stylophone? But no, it was an effect.
On Tempe Chord organ.
Oh no, don't! That's horrible. That brings back horrible memories. I did this thing. I think I've told this story before. We had an Interform music competition in 1984-85, and I did Axel F by Harold Faltermeyer badly on a Korg 700S using a Bond Tempe electric wind organ for the bass parts. I was just doing boom. It's just horrible. Brings back terrible memories, so don't, please.
I'm just trying to imagine that.
No, don't. It's really awful.
I can get it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm there.
the Korg 700S was beautiful. That was the one that the music teacher was kind of conned into buying by the local music shop, and then he drilled some door handles on either side because he thought it would make it easier to carry. You know, those little chrome 1970s things that your gran had on a sliding door. Wow. Yeah. I have no idea what happened to it. I spoke to my son, because my son goes to the same high school, and I said to the music teacher, I said, you still don't have that 700S? And he says,
No.
We had a 700S?
They were carrying it from music to a performance in the Arts Theatre, and the handles fell off.
Oh,
smashed all over the place.
I loved that thing. Talking of Korg, what a segue this is. We won't dwell on this too much because it's not huge news, but Korg have released an update to their Prophecy plugin. Now, I got very excited because I'm a Prophecy hardware owner. It's one of those, you would have to prize it from my cold dead hands type synths. And to have a plug-in version just makes it a lot easier for me to mess around with. But I was always a little perturbed that some of the models weren't as accurate as they could have been to the hardware. I did some ABs, and a lot of them were there or thereabouts. Some weren't so much. Looks like they've been paying attention to what myself and lots of other people have been saying about that, and they've got some of the old developers in to finesse things. Now, whilst I haven't done an A-B comparison because I only picked this up today, I will be doing something and trying to see how close they've got it. But they've got 180 new patches, 40-odd of which designed by friend of the show, Drew Schlesinger, who worked on the original Prophecy voices back in the day. But let's have a listen to a little demo that they put together, using also another one of my favourite plugins, the 700S. Korg Prophecy, now up to version 1.5. The Prophecy still, the sound still makes me, it's such a good synthesizer. Free update if you've already owned it. Of course, Korg have got a promotion at the moment with up to 50% off a lot of their plugins, so you can pick that one up, or the collection, with a nice discount. Any thoughts on plugin Prophecy updates?
Well, I kind of forgot that we had that software to manage our Korg stuff, and it took me about an hour to work out how to update it.
He was messaging me a couple of hours ago saying, "How do you update this? There's nothing in the thing." I said, "There's an app for that."
I finally got it updated through what is it, Software Pass or something?
The Korg Software Pass.
Yeah, I'd forgot all about
Including
that.
the name.
Yeah, but I never use it. So I never think, I'll stick Korg Software Pass on today, see what's going on. It's like
I know.
Yeah, So when I finally got it working, I had like 102 updates or something to everything I've got.
Everything needed updating, didn't it?
Because it's never been on. And that kind of, we had a little bit of a conversation about it, didn't we, really? Like, all these different apps for managing different brands of software.
Yeah.
Why don't they do it through the App Store or something? Why is it...
It
why
is
have we got
begging.
to have a different app for...
It is begging for somebody to come up with a universal app updater. Because like I do that every now and again. If I'm a bit bored, I'll go, let me go through... what have we got? We've got the Korg Software Pass, we've got the Roland Cloud Manager, we've got IK Multimedia's Product Manager, there's an Isotope one as well, and you don't get notified. The only one that I think kind of gets it right is with Arturia, that whenever you use one of their instruments and there's an update, it will then tell you there's an update, and then open up the service center thing that they have, and then all of your updates are listed there. But it's and UVI as well as another one, and all of these different things you have to remember to go through and check. And then there's the plugins that don't tell you that there's an update. You just have to go looking for it, or there's an obscure button that's hidden on the about page that goes and checks for an update. It just
what do you think the last Wednesday of every month afternoon is for?
Well, yes. Well,
it's true, isn't it?
True. But it is, it just annoys the hell out of me. And I can see, like Ben, you forget that one thing, and then you click on it. Oh my God! Like everything's got an update. In actual fact, nowadays I rely on like Facebook notifications. Somebody somewhere will say, "Oh, there's an update here," and then you go and check it, and you find that there's everything else there as well. Especially if you got to, like, I was in my laptop the other day. I thought, I better get my laptop up to date. Oh my God, everything needed updating.
Tell me about it.
Whereas, I know people will sort of go, but the Mac App Store thing, if you buy your products through there, it tells you there's an update. It just tells you that it's there, and you just so I don't know, but a universal kind of app updating thing. Maybe somebody can do like an aggregator program that you get the program and then you put in all your things, and it will automatically just go like once a day it will go and poll them all and see if there's anything that's updated. There's a clever thing. If I was a coder, it'd
be nice if your DAW could do it. Your DAW just says, this plugin that you use, there's an update for it.
Yeah.
WordPress does it.
But let's get back to the Prophecy. I know there was some people in the chat was saying, like ASIO Head made a very worthwhile comment that the hardware Prophecy is not that expensive on the used market, and it might be worth getting the real thing. And I actually almost bought one at Synthesize. Somebody was selling one for £250, and I thought, even if it's just for spares and repairs, I mean, it's fully functional. But if it was just for spares, I'd have thought, but I just no.
Doesn't Ken Macbeth likes them? Doesn't he?
Does he?
I think it's Ken Macbeth likes the Prophecies. He uses them to sequence a lot of his stuff.
They are wonderful little things. But the benefit of having the software version, of course, is that it's obviously, less likely to go wrong, but also it's polyphonic, which the original Prophecy, of course, isn't. When I saw the update for this come through, I thought, maybe they've added the extra models that the Z1 had, and now we've got the full kind of MOS emulation of the Prophecy and the Z1 in one unit. But maybe the Z1 will come as an extra thing, because they're not similar. They use the MOS technology, but the Z1 went beyond. It added extra models and did things in different ways, which is why you can't put Prophecy patches on the Z1. But nevertheless, I still I'm a sucker for physical modelling. Anything that has that kind of blend of acoustic and synthetic, that floats my boat. So
Yeah, it does.
I've got a plastic guitar you'd like.
I'm glad that there's a software version. Really. Yeah, because I sincerely mean this. The Korg Prophecy is shite and needs to die.
Shut up! It's one of my all-time favourite synthesizers. Shut up!
It's not because of the sounds or anything like that. It's because every single one I've ever worked on has electrocuted me. Every single one. When you disconnect the power supply out of a Korg Prophecy, it remains completely live with 480 volts sitting on it for 40 minutes.
Oh my word!
So you can put it to one side, it's out of the way, and then you go and pick it up and you've forgotten. You go. I hate them.
Stop licking the keyboards.
Ah, mate, I shouldn't I?
Well,
but they taste so lovely.
The only thing that's disappointing me about mine is the keys slightly yellowed. That's the only thing that's wrong with mine. Everything else I've managed to fix, like the wobbly wheels and stuff.
Kent can lick those clean.
Yeah, the taste of chocolate.
You get electrocuted while he does it, like.
Yeah, no. As a hardware unit, frisbee.
No, I don't know. I just it's one. I when I first saw it, I was brassic. I was completely skint, and I needed to buy something, and I saw an advert, for this 37-note monophonic keyboard for £1,200. This was in 95, 96, whatever. And I thought, who on earth would want to pay £1,200 for a 37-note monophonic keyboard that looks like it just fell off the flight console of Buck Rogers in the 25th century? Yeah. And then I actually played one, and I get it now. And luckily, I bought mine. It was end of line at Digital Village. Do you remember them?
Yes.
I paid $5.99 for mine, brand new.
Yeah, and that pitch mod unit on the Prophecy is a stroke of genius.
The log with the ribbon.
Yeah, it's a stroke of genius. It really is.
That's again. I was speaking to somebody today. I can't remember who. I apologise if you're in the chat. But we were saying that the one letdown of the software is you don't have the hardware control surface.
Oh.
Yes, the log is represented, and you can click on the ribbon and drag. But it's not the same as actually physically playing. And that was the one thing that endeared me to the Prophecy more than anything, was the fact that it made butterfingers like me actually sound like I know what I was doing, just simply through the degree of expression that it gives you. After touch and the log and the ribbon and
the articulation. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah. The fact that all of the wind models assigned to Mod Wheel 2 is the amount of air that's going through the model. And that's just brilliant for expression. It's just amazing. Yeah.
But the hardware needs to die, and landfill. Get rid of it.
I should have bought that one, because I could have sold it to Sasquatch in the chat. He said I should have told him about it. I don't know if it's sold. It was on a table, right? So this is the crazy thing about Synthesized. The guy that owns the museum was getting rid of a whole bunch of stuff, and he put on this table the Prophecy. A Korg N364, I think it was, the rack mount module, and an Atari ST with monitor in perfect working order with Cubase loaded on it. He only wanted 350 quid for that, and it was all I could do to stop myself giving him a credit card, because I know I've got nowhere to put it, and I would be probably quite frustrated with it. But an Atari ST, it was a what was it?
520 or 1040.
No, it's the 520 STE.
ST, yeah.
That apparently you can upgrade the RAM to 2 meg or something in it.
4.
Or 4, yeah.
It's the 512 STE.
Right, yeah. I was told that it was a good one.
Cards.
Yeah.
4 meg upgrade card.
And it had the official Atari monitor with it and everything, and it was just the dog's leathery bits. And I think he's still got it, and every day I think, I should have done that.
I'm looking for a Mega 4 with the monitor, because I've still got all the old notator and unitor and export stuff. I loved that way it was a brilliant way to work. I loved that thing. The timing on it was...
Yeah, the timing was just immaculate.
The timing was great.
Yeah.
It was good fun.
Yes, anyway. So, Chord Prophecy, we've kind of gone off on one there. Chord Prophecy 1.5 update is free to existing users, and of course they have an offer on at the moment on all their sounds, only for another couple of weeks, I think. So we've done that. Oh, there's another freebie that came out today, and of course we always talk about these guys when they put a freebie out, and this one's quite a nice one because any kind of affected piano is a nice thing to have. But this is from Labs, who have just introduced Tape Piano, which sounds a little bit like this.
In April 2022, we recorded this upright piano and processed it with vintage tape machines for that coveted lo-fi sound. Featuring tape loops, echoes, and even a magnetic card reader, use the variation slider to move from warm and wobbly to gritty and unpredictable. This is what it sounds like. And because creativity shouldn't be complicated, we've made it into this. And best of all, it's free.
Can't go wrong with anything that's free or anything that comes from Labs. There you go. That's the Tape Piano, which is now completely free of charge through the Labs site. Any thoughts on that one? Nice.
Match it with Galactic Reverb.
Oh yeah. Actually, no, I did. Yeah, I did that. Yeah. Very nice. Yeah.
It's a lovely thing.
Sounds really nice. It's yet another great. We say it every time, don't we? That Labs comes out with something. It's just.
I'd be more surprised if they came up with something that was rubbish, wouldn't they?
yeah. It's like the best thing that we've ever been. It's like a gift, isn't it, Labs?
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, they just keep giving us stuff for nothing.
Yeah,
it's great.
So
funny how things go in circles, isn't it? I can remember being like about 8 years old and recording our upright piano with an Elizabethan 1/2-inch tape deck, and it sounded like that, and I wanted it to sound good.
Yeah,
and now it's come back, rubbish. And everybody wants to get that sound back again.
Sod's law, isn't it?
Yeah.
But there you go. One last thing to cover, and I don't know if Mr. Wiggly is still in the chat, but if he is, I'd like him to comment on this because I have no knowledge of this machine, whether it's the original version or this new Mark II. But this is the news that there is a new SP-404 Mk.II version 2 update. Now I'm not going to play the video because it's quite a long video, but this kind of gives you a very short list of the new things that they've added. So you've now got a chromatic mode, you've got a TR rec mode, which allows you to program in the traditional 16-step TR style. There's motion record, there's chromatic mode in patterns, it has undo, new sound engine, changing parameters of multiple samples, new effects, snap to zero crossing, skip back, stop all samples in a single keystroke, and DJ mode. Free to everyone that owns the 404 Mk.II. Not my cup of tea, but nice to see an oldie come back and still being supported with a whole bunch of great new features.
It's not something that I could imagine myself using, but they do have like a large following, don't they?
Yeah, very kind of, well, I was going to say cult following, but it seems to be not so much a cult. It's quite a wide thing, isn't it?
Everybody's saying like with these new features now, it'll wipe a MPC, out, and it's a much more useful machine. But I don't know. It's a bit small for me. That little window, I couldn't do anything with that. I don't think. But I suppose once you get into the workflow, though, it all fits together, and these are great new features, and all these people can't be wrong. But like none of us seems to have any experience with it.
I mean, it's an old concept, because when did the original 404 come out? Was that the 90s? Or I can't remember now. But it has such a following that, you know, Roland for once actually responded to, you know, a perceived demand there and brought out a new version of it that seems to have gone down the right storm. I mean, take that and compare it to something like an MPC. I guess there's a lot of crossover stuff there, things that they both do, but then I guess there's things that they do, and this is, you know, kind of really ultra portable, isn't it? I know Dom's a big fan. He's got an original. I don't know if he bought I think he bought the second one. I'm not entirely sure. Does this float anybody else's boat?
I'm still trying to work out what DJ mode is.
Don't know.
Dinner jacket? You push the button, suddenly you become off your tits, don't own your own car, and thrown up in a car park.
And start going like this.
Yeah, and getting pains in your arms.
Yeah.
From trying to paint the ceiling.
Can I be subversive?
Really? Go on.
Yeah, I've just seen a comment that Mel posted about the last thing. He said, "Why would you buy tape piano when you could buy the ARP piano?"
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
Or record it of it falling downstairs.
Yes.
Yeah, and use that as
and then record it
sample.
on the new whatever this is that we're looking at. That I
The
really
404. Yeah.
You never know. It might snow. You could use it as a sledge.
Yeah, it looks like a nice enough thing, and it looks like a handy thing. But yeah.
But I mean, the 404, the Mark II 404, only came out 6 months ago. It's fairly recent, and they're already
not long.
Yeah. And they're already up to like a version 2, you know, and adding lots of new stuff to it, not just fixing things or anything. It's really
makes a change. Usually
makes a change for Roland. Yeah.
Discontinuing things after 6 months.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, absolutely. Talking of pianos, this has just reminded me, and because I've kept this open on my screen, so I think I might purchase it. But Sample Logic, you guys don't know anything about this. I'm springing this one completely out of the blue. Sample Logic, who we featured on the show a number of times before, have got a product called Cinematic Keys. And the thing that's just made me think of it is the fact that you mentioned about burning... pushing a set of pianos down the stairs and sampling that.
Yeah.
So...
Done that.
Cinematic Keys is this product that is a whole bunch of pianos that have been sampled, but they've also sampled the smashing up of an old upright piano, and you can see in the graphic there it's on fire. They did actually set this thing alight and then sample it as it was burning and dying. So there's like huge, like 8.5 gig of samples in this thing. But the reason I mentioned it is that Audio Plugin Deals, who are one of these kind of plug-in aggregator websites, have got 86% off of it. It normally retailed for $349.99. It works in Contact Player, so you don't need Contact, but they've got it now at $49.99. And I believe that if you're signed up to the Sample Logic newsletter, they'll give you an extra $10 off that, so you can have it for $39.99. So yeah, it's a bargain, really, if you're into that sort of thing.
Don't have to buy the art piano now.
Exactly.
The original price is a bit outrageous, but it seems like good.
Well, it's
value.
8.5 gig. They're quite. I mean, we've looked at their stuff before, and I think one of the reasons that this is being discontinued is because they are actually kind of making a shift into making these libraries just purely Contact libraries, rather than, you know, pay the licensing fee for Contact Player, which is what this requires. And I think that was probably what made them a little more expensive than maybe what they ought to have been.
That came out when libraries were quite pricey.
Yeah, true.
The competition isn't the same as it is now.
Yeah. But there's only 171 units left at the moment. It seems odd when they talk about a software license, but apparently they have a limited number. So get in there while you can if you want to have samples of burning, crashing pianos.
Can I do the pun of the week?
Go for it.
This is a bit of a stretch. So, Vangelis and the CS80. Most famous film?
Blade Runner.
Blade Runner. And what was the corporation called in Blade Runner?
Tyrell.
Tyrell.
So, we were talking earlier about the synthesizers.com and who might be able to afford it. And both were mentioned, Mel and Ty. So we could have the Ty Mel Corporation.
Yeah, there you go.
How scary is that?
Yeah. Replicant.
I'm going to leave now. Bye.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Yeah, that was a bit of a stretch. The Tyrell Corporation. Ah, dear. Anyway, well, look, that's we've gone over. But yeah, what a great week to have lots of news again. Thankfully, sorry we've rushed through some of it, but we had so much to get in. And it just kept coming. So I don't think we've missed anything that we're going to do. So I think it just remains for us to say thank you very much to Mr. Andrew Longhurst. Thank you again for joining us at such short notice. Always a pleasure. Never a chore.
Head of sales at the Tymel Corporation.
At the yeah. Kent, it's just wonderful to see you living and breathing in front of us again. Welcome back, and long may that continue. Will you be doing any more of your shows soon?
Yeah, I think I'll feel well enough by next week. I think. Yeah,
cool.
I think so.
Cool.
I've had so many people pinging me saying, "Is Kent all right? And is Kent doing a show?" And so you're clearly, you have an audience there.
Yeah, I tell you what's funny is when you get a customer phoning up and Fiona's going, "Oh yes, no, he's not feeling very well at the moment." I go, "Oh, so do you think it'll be long before he gets my keyboard done?"
That's genuine concern for you, isn't it?
That's genuine concern. You've got to love that.
To Ben, thank you again, as always. Any gigs coming up?
Yes, I am.
Got one tomorrow, haven't you?
If you like 80s music, new wave, electronica.
Who doesn't?
I'll be performing with our band, Electromantics, at the Leighton Institute in Blackpool.
Blackpool.
It's a cracking venue, that, as well.
Is it?
The entire back of it's a big stage, and then the entire back of the stage is like LED screens, so we can have our own videos on there.
Oh wow!
Oh sweet!
It's like really good, really good.
Get Vicky to take some footage of that. I'd like to see that.
We'll
cool.
We'll show you. Yeah.
Good luck with that one. Excellent stuff. And for anybody else that's going to GearFest tomorrow at the Tileyard Studios in North London, look out for me. I will be there in one of these, I'm sure. If it's cold, I'll have the hoodie on as well, which I don't think it will be. But yeah, look out for me and give us a shout, say hello, and I'll be doing the same as well. And it should be a really good day. And on that note, I think we ought to say goodbye. We'll be back same time next week. Somebody in the chat, I think it might have been Sasquatch, was asking about the Sonicware guys. So we were supposed to have the Sonicware team, or a couple of members of the Sonicware team, on a couple of weeks ago. Unfortunately, they had to postpone for reasons beyond both of our control and their control, but it's not cancelled, it is postponed. So we will be having the Sonicware guys on at some point in the very near future. So do keep an eye out on the Facebook page for notifications of that. Next week we're going to be joined by Christine Anderson, so name you might not be too familiar with, but she's done some wonderful things with modular. She's done a lot of stuff with Analog Solutions gear. She also happens to be dating Mark Doty, which is, you can view that as a positive or a negative, I'm sure. But no, we love Mark, and I'm really looking forward to chatting with Christine, because I've been listening to a lot of her work and it's really, really cool. So check out Christine Anderson this time next week. And coming up towards the end of the month, we've got something very special lined up with Manny Fernandez, hopefully. On my birthday, the birthday show, we've got the lovely Dina Perlman, who just got married last week to her long-term...
miss me chance.
Yeah, sorry. But Dina will be on July 29th, so really looking forward to catching up with Dina. And then he's in the chat, or he's certainly been in the chat. Mel Wesson will be coming back on the show on August 5th. So yeah, looking forward to having Mel back on, and hopefully he'll have his new studio all done, ready to show. So that'll be interesting. He'll tell us about what projects he's been working on. So yeah, lots of people coming up in the future. So please, if you want to keep up to date with what's going on, join the Facebook group or follow us on Twitter, Instagram, all these other places. Social medias. And you'll be able to keep abreast of all of that. And until then, we will see you same time, same place next week. Don't forget Ramsey's show tomorrow afternoon, I believe, is still on. Won't be able to make that because I'll be in London. And then, of course, on Sunday, you've got Jamie, followed by Dom. And I think Dom is going to be doing a kind of GearFest review show, so kind of looking back at the best bits of what happened there. So that'll be interesting. So, yeah. And I think Sonic State, who have been off for a couple of weeks, they'll be back on Wednesdays as well. So, yeah, brilliant. There we go. That's another week done. Enjoy your weekends. Thank you again, Andrew, to Kent and to Ben. Lovely to see you all. And we'll see you same time, same place next week. Take very good care of yourselves. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. It's